All right, guys, welcome back. We are going to be kind of giving you guys a preview and just our predictions for this 2025-26 college football season. Got a lot of good teams going into this season, a lot of good matchups, and a lot of hype around this season of college football. But just to get started, Alexander, what are you most excited for this season?
I mean, I'm excited right off the gate, right off the bat for Week 1, Ohio State, Texas, rematch of the Cotton Bowl from last year. I think this is it's one of those games where it will help the winner and loser get into the college football playoff later down the road, and you'll see more of those matchups all year, really, between the SEC, Big Ten, and even some in the Big 12 and ACC.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were worried that the matchups that we had seen going into the expansion of the college football playoff weren't going to happen because a lot of people just didn't think that the competition was going to be there. But I think instead it's actually done the opposite. It's allowed teams to go out and play tougher schedules, knowing that you can still get in with 2, maybe 3 losses given any year. And what I'm most excited for is just to see how good each team is. And especially Ohio State, I'm excited to see how well they're going to do coming off their national championship season. But I'm just excited to see some balls get thrown around, and I'm just excited to see the great talent that college football has. Let's get more into the playoff picture itself. What is your playoff dark horse for this year?
My playoff dark horse for this year is Oklahoma. Ever since moving from the Big 12 to the SEC, they've kind of been underground. Oklahoma's got a pretty tough schedule this year. I think if they can go honestly 10-2, I think they get in. They've got Michigan, Auburn, Texas, obviously in the Red River rivalry, Tennessee, Alabama, and LSU. Those are going to be some.
I don't see them going 10-2 though.
No, I know, but if they go 10-2,
yeah,
they can.
I get that.
That's they're going to have. They honestly probably have one of the harder schedules in all of football right there. And I think if they can sneak out, if they can win some gritty football games, I think they will be in the college football playoffs.
All right, I kind of went a different way in my dark horse. I've got a team with a weak schedule. I've got Illinois coming out of the Big Ten. Their hardest 2 games are at Indiana, and then they get to play Ohio State at home. And who even knows really how good Indiana will be? They lost their quarterback, and I'm blanking on the name, but they lost their quarterback, and a lot of hype was around that team last year. I haven't heard much about their team this year, but I think they could easily beat that Indiana team. And then Ohio State, obviously going to be good, but the only advantage Illinois has is that it's at in Champaign. But if they win one of these games, regardless of winning the other, they're most likely going to only have 1 or 2 losses, and beating a top 25 team, most likely in Indiana or Ohio State, they're going to most likely get in this playoffs. So that's why I picked Illinois to get in. I can see them being a 12 or 11 seed. I don't see them getting much higher than that. If so, they'd have to pretty much go undefeated and win the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
But let's get into conference champions. So this isn't automatic bids, I believe, or maybe it still is. But let's start with the Big Ten conference.
Big Ten?
Yep, Big Ten.
I'm going to say Ohio State's going to win the Big Ten conference. They've been on a drought the last couple of years, but honestly, obviously they got to beat Texas, and they need to beat Penn State. I think they get over the hump against Michigan this year. They're going to have to get into the Big Ten championship. They're going to have to beat at least Penn State or Michigan to get into the Big Ten championship, most likely. Oregon's not going to be as powerful as last year. They kind of were in the same situation as Ohio State, where they had an older roster and they lost a lot of it. So we'll see how good Oregon did at bringing up new guys and how they fill the next man up mentality. But I believe Ohio State will win the Big Ten conference.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got Ohio State. The thing is, even if they do lose against Texas, it has no effect to their Big Ten title opportunity because it's dependent on conference record. So just removing the Texas game, even though I don't see them losing that game, just with it being at home and all the hype around it, I also don't see them losing to Ohio or to Penn State, given that matchup's going to be at home. It's already announced that it's going to be a blackout. That doesn't mean it's going to be a night game. But they've already announced it's going to be a blackout. It's at home. I'm sure our guys are going to be motivated having to play Jim Knowles. They want to tear his defense up, and there's going to be a little bad blood there. But on top of it, Penn State just hasn't beat Ohio State in the last 8 or 9 years. And although there's a lot of hype around this Penn State team, James Franklin doesn't win these games. Mm-hmm. Drew Aller, I'm not too sold on. So although there's a lot of hype around that Penn State team, I'm not too sold on this or on that. And then obviously, honestly, for me, the Michigan game's the game I have circled. I mean, I think it's going to be easier to win this year after you saw last year how little of significance it has for your playoff chances, being a team like Ohio State, at least if they come into the game with at most one loss. So I do think they're going to – I honestly would not be shocked if they go undefeated. I do think they're going to win the Big Ten championship. I don't know who they'd play in the Big Ten championship that they couldn't beat. So I do have them winning the Big Ten. Let's move on to another great conference, the SEC. Who do you got there?
I've got Alabama coming out on top in the SEC. I think this is going to be a bounce back year for Alabama. They kind of had a low year with the coaching change, but Ryan Williams and whoever of the 3 quarterbacks they end up taking, their quarterback room is one of the most stacked ones up there with Ohio State in the country, and they have pretty decent schedule for being an SEC team. They got first hard game against Georgia at Georgia. That's going to be a tough one. Then they're at home against Tennessee, at home against LSU, at home against Oklahoma, and then, of course, they play at Auburn. I don't see a way where Alabama doesn't go better than 10-2, and I think if you go 10-2 or better in this kind of conference, you get to the SEC championship, and I think they can take anybody in the SEC championship.
So I'm kind of going a different way. I'm going with Texas. I don't see them losing a game outside of the Ohio State game, and say they win that one in Columbus, they're going to go undefeated. I don't see another opponent on their schedule, maybe Georgia, that they can't beat. But still, I think Texas has that game covered. I think
that would be a good conference championship, Alabama versus Texas.
I think everybody in the country would take it.
It would be.
I think the SEC is the weakest it's ever been. You have teams like LSU, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Florida, that are all going to be 2 to 4 win teams or 2 to 4 win lost teams. Excuse me. And I honestly think Bama is going to be in that 2 to 4 loss range. Like you said, they could be 2, but I think Alabama is going to be in a little bit of a struggle period here for a little bit. But you do have teams like South Carolina that's making a resurgence, and then obviously Georgia's still up there. And I personally think it's going to be a 2-man race between Georgia and Texas, and I think that's going to be the SEC championship. I think we're going to get a rematch of last year's SEC championship. But I think Texas has more talent than anybody in the SEC, and I think that's what it comes down to. And then the third Power 4 conference, we got the ACC. What do you got?
It's pretty obvious. I got Clemson. Mm-hmm. I know last year everybody said Clemson as well, and it didn't happen, but SMU is not going to be as good this year. I mean, I feel like the only other team you could say is Syracuse. But
Syracuse is going to be pretty good.
I think Clemson's got him on lock.
Yeah, I've got Clemson. Like you said, SMU is not good. Miami's ranked 10th in the coaches poll, but I don't know why. They don't have Xavier Restrepo. They don't have Cam Ward. So they're too big. Their duo on offense pretty much is gone. And I'm never a fan of Miami, and I don't think they ever really live up to their standards. And like you said, Syracuse could be it. But once again, I don't see anybody beating this Clemson team with Cade Klubnik. I think he's going to have a great year. So Clemson's got that one secured. And lastly, Big 12. Who do you got coming out of there?
I've got Texas Tech here. They have a pretty easy schedule. Looking at it right now, I feel like their hardest game is going to be at Arizona State and at Kansas State. If they can get through, I'm not sure if their conference works as ever. I think their conference is like everyone else, the top 2 teams.
Could be division still.
Yeah, I think as long as they win one of those 2 games, they're pretty much a lock for the conference title.
I've got Arizona State representing the Big 12. I think they have a very easy schedule. Their hardest opponent is at Iowa State. Always going to expect Iowa State to be inside that top 25. But worst comes to worst, they lose that one. They're still going to go 11-1. Still going to make that conference championship. And maybe if they do lose to Iowa State, they'll get their rematch and get their revenge. So that's what I got out of the Big 12. What's your national championship game prediction matchup?
I've got Texas versus Alabama. Texas winning.
So you've got an SEC championship rematch?
Yeah.
Okay. I've got it's kind of hard for me to predict because I don't know where the brackets are going to be.
Well, you got to think Notre Dame's going to be in the playoff somewhere.
Yeah. But I think it's going to be Texas, Ohio State. If the seeding works out, I think there's no way Texas and Ohio State don't match up again. We could see 2 games between them this season, which would be sweet. Odds are pretty good with how the bracket is this year, and I think there's a lot in store for college football this year. But I think it's an exciting time for college football fans. We're excited for it, and that's all we have for you guys. Let us know who you think is going to win every single conference championship. Let us know who your national championship front runners are. And I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll be pumping out college football content a lot with the season ramping up. So make sure you guys subscribe and stay tuned for that stuff. Thanks for watching.